Outstanding. Well, thanks for that. And Denise, I know you're out there somewhere too. So hi, and everyone else for joining in tonight. Thank you for being here. It's my privilege to give this introduction and really an honor to talk for a few moments, not only about that extraordinary guy on the little window there virtually, Dr. Grunberger, but first to talk a little bit about Dr. Fred Whitehouse. Some of us may know the name. He spent most of his career at Henry Ford Hospital in Detroit, and he was pretty much a game-changing force within our community. 7 decades in our community making a difference. It's not a stretch to say pretty much that what we know about diabetes today and how we manage this condition is in some way touched by the work he did throughout his life. There's really words, and you could go on for hours and hours just talking about Dr. Whitehouse, but he started out working with Dr. Elliot Joslin in Boston back in the late 40s. He came to Detroit, spent 5 decades at Henry Ford. Some of his accomplishments of the so many are leading the American Diabetes Association in the late 70s and being part of landmark research in the 80s that would essentially help establish the A1C as our diabetes care standard. Locally, of course, he was very involved in our JDRF chapter and the summit itself. Starting in 2008, he was on the planning committee. He co-chaired in 2011, and then he was a keynote presenter in 2015, talking about his 7 decades of experience in type 1. Sadly, we lost him on March 1st, 2019, at the age of 92. But it's very exciting that today JDRF is honoring Dr. Whitehouse's legacy with an annual award in his name. It goes to someone who's exemplified that same kind of passion, that dedication, understanding, and support for our type 1 community. I'm very happy to present this first award to Dr. George Grunberger, who many know for his roles in the summit and chapter over here for years. And of course, he has Grunberger Diabetes Institute in Bloomfield Hills going on about 20 years now. He's a widely respected global leader himself with quite the resume. And I've had the honor of knowing him for several years in my own work professionally, but more on a personal note, as he's my own an endocrinologist. He's really an awesome guy to know. And without a doubt, he embodies everything that Dr. Whitehouse was about. So it's very fitting that he gets this year's inaugural award. I think Dr. Whitehouse would certainly be proud of all Dr. G does for us in this diabetes community. And with that, I want to turn it over to Dr. Grunberger. Please say a few words if you don't mind.
Well, thank you so much, Mike, for those overly kind words. And I don't have to tell anyone in the audience how honored and how humbled I am to be the first recipient of this Fred Whitehouse Award, because as you already mentioned, Fred was truly a giant. He was a giant in the world of diabetes, and he touched so many lives, both as a scientist, researcher, but also as a physician, as a human being. And I'll tell you, as I tried to express in my diabetes care article, when I was asked to write a little sort of vignette about his life, he was a giant. He was a Renaissance man. He was a role model for so many of us in the profession, and to receive an award in his name is truly a humbling experience. And as you mentioned, Fred was there at the very beginning of this summit. And so my sort of second kudos, in addition to Fred, is to the chapter. The JDRF chapter locally has been amazing. And I'm not really sure how many of you actually know how this whole summit business started. And so if you don't mind, let me just give you a little reminiscence here. It was in 2007 when Jim Slaughter was appointed executive chair of the executive director of the chapter. And when I met Jim for the first time, in my usual way, I gave him a little bit hard time. I said, you know what? This chapter is amazing. Fundraising, raising money for cure, raising money for research, doing exactly what JDRF is supposed to be doing. I said, but who's taking care of these thousands of people with T1D today? Who's helping them? They're hungry for information. They need to know what to do before the cure arrives. And we had this now famous breakfast at the original Pancake House in Grosse Pointe, and Jim got it. He was amazing. remember, this was really unusual for JDRF to invest in education of existing patients with T1D, not just for a cure. And as you already mentioned, by the fall of 2007, a committee was formed, and the spring of 2008, the first rendition of this summit was put on. At that time, we had no idea if anybody's going to show up. We had 500 people who showed up the first year. I think it was 1,000 and 1,200, 1,500, and we had to move to a larger venue. And all of a sudden became the largest educational event for T1D in the nation. And as you know, National JDRF obviously gave the chapter all the kudos, and now it became really a model for the education and the sort of part of knowledge and everything we're doing right now for people who already have T1D and really can't wait for the cure. Something needs to be done right now. So again, thank you so much. I'm truly honored and humbled, and to be recipient of an award in Fred Whitehouse's name and by this chapter is truly a terrific recognition. And I hope there will be bigger and larger personalities who will follow me. And I'd like to also give special thanks to Denise Fantascu that she came up, I guess, with this idea to make sure that Fred Whitehouse's name stays in the memory of all of us forever. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Grunberger. Thank you, Mike. Thank you both for all your contributions. It was great to have you here tonight. Thank you.